Okay, now a particularly significant consequence of methamphetamine use is the fact that this drug is actually neurotoxic. It actually causes significant damage and even death of brain cells. So animal studies have actually shown that there are these long-term reductions in dopamine transporters, and there's physical damage actually to dopamine and also to serotonin synapses as well. And human studies have actually shown that there's reduced dopamine transporter density. So there are fewer of those dopamine transporters that remove dopamine from the cleft, actually, in human methamphetamine users in the basal ganglia, actually. And this is one study that looked at this, but even in those who are abstinent for a very long time. So this is a significant, like, long-term, destruction, basically, of, part of the brain that occurs with sort of chronic methamphetamine use. And, depending on how it is initially introduced into an individual system, if it's smoked or if it's delivered very rapidly and in high concentration, the dependence liability is quite high. And so people can very rapidly sort of head down this road to significant brain damage as a result of methamphetamine abuse. The other issue with the use of methamphetamine is that it's what we call a sympathomimetic. So sympatho means sympathetic nervous system, and it mimics it. It sort of mimes the effects of that. It activates the sympathetic nervous system. And one of the effects of activation, there's increased heart rate, right? This is part of the behavioral excitement that occurs. But in addition, there's what we call vasoconstriction. The blood vessels are constricted, are thinned out. There's less blood flow in the periphery of the body, so the face, right? The extremities, in the mouth, for example, too. So less blood flow to these regions mean that they're not getting, the kind of healthy flow of, nutrients and oxygen and, glucose that they are accustomed to. So people's faces, start to show significant changes. It looks like they're aging rather dramatically because of this decreased blood flow. Sympathetic nervous system activation will, constrict blood vessels in the periphery, and it'll increase blood flow to the legs and to areas that are necessary to sort of, escape from threat, for example. That's when your sympathetic nervous system is typically active. But in addition to the sort of drying of the mouth, of the constriction of the vessels out here, people tend to have, they don't eat as much, when they're on these kinds of drugs, but they will drink sodas and, quick shots of sugar, and there are rather dramatic changes that can occur in the mouth and in the health of the gums and the health of the teeth. So this is referred to often as meth mouth, and it's something that dentists have seen, and it's a pretty tragic, consequence also of continued use of this substance.